Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kristen and Alex have a new scheme. Days of Our Lives flashback that Alex and Kristen live and that they agreed to join forces to keep Teresa and Brady from falling in love again. Then's where that plan stands now. Scheme and scheme alike. Brady and Teresa are fully preoccupied with Tate's felonious charges. They're upset about and love their son. They don't love each other. So Kristen and Alex are truly upset about nothing. But why should that stop either one of them from coming up with a plan to hold on to a woman Alex decided against asking to marry him, and a man who has made it clear to Kristen that he hates her, will always detest her, and whose grave he can't stay to dance on. Yup, those are surely worth conniving to snare. So Alex and Kristen do. Constantine clears Sarah wants her mama to be happy, so if Constantine is the one to make that be, also she's willing to give the Greek grifter the benefit of the mistrustfulness. She's not planning to love him like a father. But she's prepared to tolerate him like a guest. And it would be really nice if she could move Xander to do the same. Just to keep the peace. In the meantime, Maggie also evaluates the man who claims to be her late hubby's friend. But will it be for the better or the worse? Woe is John. Constantine has done his stylish to ingratiate with Maggie, Sarah, and indeed Xander over to a point. But, when it comes to John, Constantine would like him to suffer. So John is. Marina, Deidre Hall, and Steve are trying to tell him not to. John is doing it anyway. This makes Constantine happy. But not happy enough. What is going on with Maggie and Nicole on days? Since Constantine arrived in Salem and Nicole married EJ, the two women have relatively acted like themselves. And in the Wednesday, March 20th occasion of Days of Our Lives, it was more apparent than ever. When will Maggie figure out Constantine should be spelled with a C rather of a K? And when will Nicole stop EJ's war against Brady's son Tate? Maggie charmed by Constantine? Please. Obviously, Maggie was vulnerable after Victor failed. Still, it's hard to believe that she'd let a conman like Constantine come in and charm her like he has. Sure, she was skeptical for a nanosecond. Ultimately, he won her over. He's easily shady in every way. He has reason after reason for not leaving city to return to Greece. Yes, he now has a sad story about his son that seems real, but is Maggie even vetting him? Is she hearkening to John and Steve, whom she's known for decades, when they tell her this Joe is sus? Unfortunately, Maggie wouldn't hear to him either. What will it take for her to believe this Joe who can pause a baby to sleep in his arms is a bad Joe looking to steal her fortune? That he's the Joe who banded with Teresa to get in her good graces by hijacking Victoria? Steve and John know Victor and Constantine were longtime adversaries, not musketeers. There's that piece of information. But that may not be enough. Teresa may have to confess how she teamed up with Constantine to bilk Xander and Maggie out of their fortunes. Hopefully, Teresa will come clean sooner rather than latterly. She's a bit more mature these days, so perhaps Maggie will actually believe her? And forthcoming spoiler teases Maggie seeing Constantine in a new light. Does she eventually see right through his act? Also, can we get back to the Maggie we know and love, please? Will the real Nicole please stand up? Nicole is strong, brash, shady, generous, selfish, beautiful, intelligent, and all the other adjectives that make her one of Salem's most complex and complicated women. Occasionally, she's all of these adjectives contemporaneously. Indeed, though the love of her life is Eric Brady, it's easy to see why she marry EJ Mara. They been married ahead, they hot and defensive of each other. Plus, they both don't mind getting devious when the time or occasion is demanded. Ever since Nicole lost her baby, EJ's taken his defensive band into an over-the-top place where he's calling all the shots now. Adding in Holly's overdose, Salem's district attorney decided to control the narrative and lay all the blame on Brady's son and Holly's stylish friend Tate. It doesn't count that none of this is true. It doesn't count that the substantiation was all particular. EJ had Tate, a minor, arrested and transferred to jail. Thankfully, Tate ended up in a juvie installation and eventually a halfway house. For some reason, EJ decided to paint Tate as a juvenile decadent who demanded discipline. At one point, he indeed told Holly after Tate broke into the Manse that they should pay the consequences if someone broke the law. EJ nearly no way pays the consequences. So why is he making Tate? Yes, he took back the arrest and Tate now resides in the halfway house again, but there's a restraining order that says he can't indeed approach Holly or the Manse. Why this vendetta against Brady's son? And why is Nicole not speaking up about this travesty? After all, Brady isn't just a friend of hers, he was formerly a friend with benefits. Investment, confession, evidence on Days of Our Lives, spoilers concentrate on Jude's christening and everything that entails secrets, falsehoods, and, hopefully, the revealing of those secrets and falsehoods. Also, characters struggle with the history and their passions for others in the present. To err as human, Holly is well apprehensive she's in the wrong. Since waking up from her coma she's known those medicines were hers and that Tate's innocent. Her attempts at conveying his innocence haven't gone well because she doesn't want her mama to know the verity. Still, EJ's waging an illegal war on Tate and he's not letting up. So it's time for Holly to fess up. And coming weeks spoilers suggest she's preparing to do just that. At the same time, the christening events take place. Nicole and EJ have a rough launch with Holly indeed, though she's preparing to tell her mama the verity about Tate and the medicines. By the end of the week, look for the teen to make a concession to, who differently, Eric, does she tell him the whole verity and nothing but the verity? And indeed though he's no longer a clerk, does he tell her to say 10 Hail Marys and Our Fathers as penance? To forgive divine poor John Black. He truly believes as the pawn he killed Constantine's son, Katharina. At the morning of the week, Marina and Steve try to support him as he struggles with his worried history. But how can he come to terms with it when he doesn't flash back so much of it? Latterly in the week, Marlena tries to use everything she has as his woman. And as a croaker. To get John to forgive himself. But you know how stubborn John is, especially when he's in a phase where he's all about chastising himself. Will John end up turning himself in for Katharina's death? Odds and ends. Speaking of Constantine, Maggie sees Constantine in a new light. Since she's been all warm and fuzzy with him as of late, does this mean she eventually sees him for who he really is? Is she on to him for the con man that he is? Jude's christening continues throughout the week, which gives the show ample time to reveal the verity about the baby switch. Is this about to be? Or will commodity or someone's, plural, stop this from passing? For illustration, Melinda suddenly reminds Leo to keep his mouth shut. After all, Leo knows everything about everything. And his lady whistleblower tone hasn't blown the whoosh yet. He's only exploited what he knows in a plutocrat sense, as in blackmailing Sloan. Roo-row. By the end of the week, Leo, Melinda, and Sloan make a pact. What does this mean? The baby switch continues to be a thing? Constantine hasn't forgotten Teresa. Days of Our Lives spoilers for Wednesday, March 20th. Add Constantine and Teresa's plan to steal the Kiriaki's fortune to her fussing about her son and his inviting of Maggie. Double trouble. Constantine puts aside his plans to make Maggie fall in love with him, and Teresa takes a break from making Tate's arrest each about her to remind each other that they plotted to trick Alex into allowing he's Victor's long-misplaced son, rather of the factual heir-at-law, Xander. Having established that, they both return to what they did ahead. Constantine reminds Teresa that they must figure out how to get the Kiriaki's fortune. Helpful machine, but don't worry, Tate is still notoriety's precedence. Uncle Eric, Greg Vaughn, who had a scary spring break fire, goes to talk to his former stepdaughter, Holly, about her memory loss. The poor, innocent little squeeze. Just can't flash back the many hours before she overdosed, so she has no idea where those awful, bad medicines came from. At least Brady eventually wised up and realized that doesn't mean she can't flash back buying the medicines hours ahead. Or taking them for weeks leading up to New Year's Eve. Will she continue lying to Eric, too? Missing you ignorant that he's been swindled out of a fortune, Xander is just happy to be out of captivity and back in bed with Sarah. They happy to reconnect.